Okay. Hello everyone. Hi guys. Thank you for watching this AMA. It's me, Jenny from Kairos Ventures is speaking. Before starting this AMA, I would love to introduce the very special guest over here. We have, sorry, this side. A handsome guy here is Alex, Investment Director of Finance Labs. Okay, and then please welcome also Wen, Investment Director of BNB Chain. And the ladies, pretty ladies over here is Jenny, VP at Animoca Ventures. Okay, I guess that you guys can click to the comments part on your right to see all the comments here. And while waiting for like everyone to jump in to this AMA, I would love to have a very brief introduction about why we have this AMA today. And next up, I will have some time for Alex, Wen, and Jenny. You guys can have a very brief introduction about yourself to the audience who are watching. Okay, so first of all, as you guys may know that Kairos Ventures collab with BNB Chain and AWS, the Amazon service website, we co-host to have a Web3 matching event. So the Web3 matching event, you guys can actually search it on Google or the website. It's web3matching.io. And this is kind of an event that we want to meet up between the ventures and also the projects. That's why we have run like, I think in almost 25 days, and we received over 300 plus project application, and we're gonna shortlist into only top 20 projects to meet up the VC in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, so yeah, I guess everyone is start joining in. So I will leave the stage to maybe Alex. You can start to introduce about yourself first, and then Wen and Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. And hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on this AMA session. So I am part of Binance Labs, which is the investment arm of Binance. Binance Labs was founded just about a year after the launch of Binance. So since 2018, we've invested in over 300 projects in the Web3 crypto space. And really what we're looking for is to enable the mass adoption of crypto technology. And we're using investments to back the right founders and the right projects to ensure that that happens. And our goal, alongside with, I guess, everyone in this on this panel, is to see the 1 billion users in Web3. So we're actively working on that. We have a few programs that help us deploy capital. First thing that we're doing is we have an incubator program, which we run 4 times a year. And we alternate between a BNB chain focus. So we do that 2 times a year. And then a non-BNB chain, more blockchain agnostic program. And that's targeted at early stage projects kind of in the pre-seed phase. We're also doing investments, so more traditional venture capital investments into Web3 projects. Typically, these are seed, Series A, and potentially Series B projects. And we're open to talk to any founders that have some great initiatives, innovation, and really anyone who is very passionate about this space. We're super open to talk with you and see how we can partner and support you with both capital, but also resources outside capital. So we can make introductions across our entire ecosystem. And being at the kind of core of the crypto industry, Binance is very privileged to have all of those resources in place. And more, more recently, and I think we might talk about it later, but we're also spinning up an initiative to support the industry in the current kind of challenging times, which if there are any more questions, I'm happy to address later.
Sure. Thank you so much for the introduction. Wen, can you have a brief introduction about yourself, please?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Jenny, and hi, everyone. So my name is Gwen, and I am at BNB Chain. So hopefully you're familiar, but BNB Chain is the largest Web3 community, the largest layer one blockchain infrastructure with 1 million daily active users, and very, very vibrant and diverse community of builders, entrepreneurs, dApps, as well as many investors invested also into the various protocols in the BNB Chain ecosystem. So our goal at BNB Chain is mass crypto adoption, where we really want to try to get blockchain and crypto to 1 billion users. We think that it can be done over the next few years. And so at BNB Chain, what we do on a daily basis is that we talk to many of you projects out there where we're trying to figure out how can we help all of you accelerate your growth, by helping you target certain kind of challenges, common challenges that everyone faces, product market fit. How do you validate your product? How do you get customers, users? And then of course, figuring out your business model / tokenomics. So from BNB Chain side, we do have many things. We work closely with Binance Labs, for example, on incubation side, a bit of investments as well with Binance Labs. And on a BNB Chain side, we do give out grants. So BNB Chain Builder Grant is something that we've been running for 2 months. So check it out online. Builder Grants is an initiative, a project, a program where we are looking for truly innovative products as well as protocols and dApps with a lot of potential for high user growth, right? Where you do have like use cases that the masses would jump onto, a lot of on-chain kind of activity. And so for us in BNB Chain, we have a lot of things as well, gas fee rebates, a lot of people who are also here to work directly with projects to help you out. So at BNB Chain, we are excited to be supporting the growth of the entire ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you so much for introduce about the fund and also about the grant from Binance Labs and BNB Chain. You guys can see here that we have almost 3,000 people watching this live stream on Binance Live and other channels. So may I have the introduction from Jenny, VP at Animoca Ventures.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. My name is Jenny, and I am on the investment team for Animoca Ventures, which is the VC arm of Animoca Brands, a multi-billion unicorn in the NFT and gaming space. So Animoca Brands actually started out as a builder in the space, and today we are still kind of builders in the space, supporting kind of trying to disrupt the $200 billion gaming industry with blockchain technology. And our kind of vision is really to onboard more users and hopefully cross the billion mark of users onto Web3 and blockchain. On the Animoca Venture side, we primarily focus on early stage opportunities in both GameFi related infrastructure, as well as content.
Cool. Very thanks. Do you know what people comment? People say that we are Jenny and we look like twins. Do you think so? Okay. By the way,
It's just the hair. Your hair
it's
are
just
like
the hair.
Yeah, the hair is like
we have the same hair.
both brown. Yeah, roughly brown. Nice, but one is slightly more wavy. But yeah, it's just the hair.
Okay, thank you so much. By the way, before starting the real question, I'm gonna give you a structure of the AMA for a little bit that we're gonna have a discussion. We're gonna answer the question. Answer the question first, and then we're gonna have 10 minutes for everyone to pop your question here, and I will collect, the most I think the most makes sense question. Do not comment anything like airdrop, money, something like that, shield tokens. Okay, I'm not picking up that. All right. So 10 minutes for Q&A, and I will ask some questions for the speakers here. Right. So for the ice-breaking first part, I have 3 assumptions from the Vietnamese community because I'm based in Vietnam and I'm like a Saigonese. So I know pretty well about the market, about the community, what they're talking about, everything. So what I'm collecting here is 3 assumptions. Okay, I will tell you the assumptions, the statement, and you guys will tell me that is true or false, or you guys don't have the answer for that, and briefly explain about that. Okay, so you guys ready?
We think so.
Let's
Bring it
do
on.
this. Okay, first of all, it's for Animoca brands for Jenny. So they say that a good GameFi project will be backed by Animoca brands. Is it true or false for you?
It's true if it passes all our due diligence.
Mm, okay, very interesting. Anything else you want to share, or that's it?
So I think we are definitely more well known in funding GameFi projects,
Mhm.
but we're actually also quite big on other content, entertainment, music, as well as infrastructure. A lot of our notable investments includes YGG, Polygon, Flow, which is Dapper Labs. So we're also OpenSea. We're one of the earliest investors. So definitely, I think we have a very well-rounded portfolio and mandate.
Yeah, I have reviewed the portfolios projects of Animoca Ventures, and I see that you guys very diversified about the portfolio. Like not but I do commit that you guys have a higher percentage of GameFi NFT projects, like also DeFi's as well. Okay, so the second statement is projects with Binance Labs investment will be listed on Binance Exchange.
Absolutely false. We do not guarantee listing. In fact, we have a dedicated listing team, which are very good at their job. They take the entire process independent. No one is guiding them. They have a very well structured approach to identifying listing candidates, and they can look at what Binance Labs is doing, but they only know about it from kind of the public domain. So there's no guaranteed at all that the investments that we make end up being listed on Binance. What I would say is that good projects, we tend to invest in really good projects, and if they're good at everything. So a lot of them would end up, by the virtue of being good and having kind of great tokenomics and great teams and everything else checking out, will end up being listed. But again, no one guarantees that. It's an independent process, and it's done by a completely separate team.
Gotcha. So note number one is completely separate team between Binance Exchange and Binance Labs. And the second thing, it's no guarantee at all. Right.
Correct.
Okay. So with when, is it BNB chain based project will be prioritized by Binance team or Binance Labs?
The short answer is also no on our side.
Mhm.
So BNB Chain, we do work closely with Binance Labs on the BNB Chain incubation, so most valuable builder incubation program. And we do maintain a relationship with them where we can recommend and potential investment deals. But it's really now, just working hand in hand with Binance Labs. On the BNB Chain side, we really focus on a few things, right? Encouraging projects, builders, entrepreneurs to don't think so much of capital, because even though now is the crypto winter and capital is scarce, a lot of people falsely think that capital would solve all problems. The answer is no, right? So we try to invest in them through other resources, right? We again put in a lot of people, their time, their knowledge, their insights, to help people on the ground. Like I said, a lot of projects have a lot of common problems faced by startups, by new builders and scalers in the space. And we also do introduce them to people who might be able to contribute, in the ecosystem, many community leaders, and that's how we contribute also to the project's growth.
Makes sense. Right. Thank you for the answer. So I want to touch for a little bit about the market, as you mentioned. So this is absolutely the winter for crypto. And like before that, before the winter comes, we saw a lot of events like, let's say, the terrible damage to the crypto market from the collapse of Luna and also 3AC, Voyager, Celsius, and most recently is FTX becoming the most notorious scandal in the market has ever recorded. So besides the damage to the retail traders, I mean, a lot of traders got a lot of affected. It is pretty negative for them. So what do you guys think about the projects? What to what extent do you think the project will be affected, especially since FTX and also Alimity Research, they are the investors of so many projects. I saw on a Twitter, there have a banner and they say, they listed out the number of projects and also the name of the project that Alimity Research have invested in. So what do you guys think about it? Let's start. I think let's start with Alex first.
Sure. So maybe if to provide a bit more context around this, I think first of all we need to look at kind of the underlying premise of all of these situations and the contagion that happened. I think if anything, that was a major failure on the kind of centralized financial kind of setup part, right? So at no point DeFi was involved in the whole situation. So I think in terms of the fundamental thought of blockchain working in a trustless and permissionless way has not been affected at all. Actually, what has been affected is trust in crypto industry overall because of some centralized players really taking on too much leverage. And leverage is the elephant in the room in all of these situations. And I think it's actually always the case. So from our end, we're not fans of leverage. We actually don't do a lot of lending and borrowing. When we think about the entire space, we make informed investment decisions without actually a lot of financial engineering around it. So we don't use leverage as an instrument to either increase returns or otherwise create some financial setups that will interlink a lot of different projects between them. So that's kind of as a context. And then we look at what has permeated out of this entire thing. So a lot of projects had their treasuries in custody with, for example, FTX. Some of the projects had some lending and borrowing relationship with 3AC or Luna, and overall, I think all of these events are interlinked between them. So we look at it as a one chain of events that we think has impacted the entire crypto industry. How are we kind of positioning ourselves in terms of using our fund and using investments as a tool to both kind of support the industry, but also make sure that we back the long-term viability and potential of crypto, is that we haven't actually changed the way we approach investments. We're still looking for the best teams out there. We're still backing the themes that we always thought are going to be core to the mass adoption of crypto, and DeFi is by far one of them. And we can talk a bit about that in detail slightly later. And with all of that in mind, actually, we think that a lot of the projects that ended up being affected, which otherwise are very good, have very strong teams, have great business models, but have liquidity crisis. For that purpose, we are keen to talk to them through a kind of recovery funding support in place to see how we can make sure that they don't cease operations just because of being affected on the liquidity front by having any sort of relationships with all of the parties that Jenny, you mentioned earlier.
Thank you so much for the answer. So I do understand that during the bull run of the market, like we saw like a cash abundant or the capital is cheap, but less than a half year later, the market entered a very unprecedented like liquidity crisis everywhere and causing so many collapse, liquidity crisis, everything. A lot of people got affected. So Alex, you have mentioned earlier that you starting to change the way of approach for the investment. So I'm just wondering, how about as an investment director and a VP of Animoca, like Wen, you guys, and Jenny, what do you think after so many events and collabs? Do you will like change your investment theory in your investment fund?
So I think after this event, it doesn't really change our fundamental thesis. When we started, it's always about kind of backing innovative tech, backing very solid founders who's here for the long run. Because we think right now there's only 70 million Ethereum wallets with balances. That's not zero, which is very, very limited compared to 5 billion digital users. So we're at very, very early stage. So I think with not just Web3, but with any industry, as we look back in history, when it's just starting, there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of bad actors, but eventually we think that, as the industry matures, as we've been through more and more of these kind of idiosyncratic events, we've become better at identifying risk and kind of also guiding our portfolios in terms of treasury management and risk management. So I think out of this fiasco and unfortunate events, majority of our portfolio actually were faring okay because they were quite prudent about their treasury management, about diversification of risk. And I think the initiative that Binance is doing with the recovery fund is also something that's really good for industry in the long term to ensure that builders that are affected will still have the resources to continue to kind of build and support the future of Web3. So
Thank
in
you,
short,
Jen.
I think it doesn't really change our long-term thesis.
Really change.
Yeah.
Same with Kairos Ventures. How about you, Wen? Does it gonna change your investment theory?
No, absolutely not. In all markets, ups and downs, it's always looking for a few things, right? One is team, second is market, and third is in like quite general terms is like whether like speed, whether the team and totality, you're moving fast enough and pivoting and almost like failing fast enough, right? So we use the same frameworks to kind of look at projects and assess them to see whether they're we should help them or not, in terms of like giving them again resources, giving them some capital, what have you. So no, it's still the same story. So I think what's interesting right now is that in this winter, in this extended winter perhaps, where we will see more projects potentially die, right? Which is where Binance's industry recovery fund would be helpful to have those impacted by the saga recently, by the events recently, to help tide over some runway. But the truth be told is that but just overall, this is just good because the strongest teams, some of the strongest teams it shouldn't have a problem tiding through this market. So some good projects might also die, and some bad projects will also die, right? And so this is a good time to have, when you see things like this happen, you will have more people then out on the market looking for new projects to join. Just like in the Web2 space, because you're seeing all the layoffs, right, happening in Meta and Amazon and stuff like that. In Web3, we will see more consolidation. We will see more talent looking for new opportunities. So good projects that have resources, have the runway, you should be out there looking for people to hire right now and recruit. So you recruit right now, you obviously don't recruit so in a sense over heavily. At any point in the startup's life cycle, you need to be making sure that you pivot your own hiring strategy and strategies in general, right? Which is that you need to be hiring right for right now, but also hiring right for the slight future, but prepping for that. So my advice to startups right now, to projects right now is that, again, if you have the resources, there will be some talent available on the market for you to bring on.
Thank you so much for the answer. By the way, we have like almost 4K people it's watching right now, so that's a very good thing. And second, on your answer, I want to emphasize this more a little bit because you've mentioned the recovery fund. So as far as I'm aware of, in the AMA, in the live stream AMA of CZ on the 14th of November, he mentioned that Binance is forming a industry recovery fund to help the projects who are otherwise strong but in the liquidity crisis. So I'm just want to ask that what the projects are, what kind of projects will be eligible to receive the support from the recovery fund? I mean, what
Okay.
criteria? Yeah.
So maybe I can take that one. I think we're looking at projects that have strong teams that have great product market fit and that have been around and delivered on their product roadmap and are just like solid, would have been in a solid position if not for the situation that they found themselves in with regards to liquidity. So, for example, if there's a project out there that has been doing very well, but unfortunately had their treasury in custody with FTX, and now they can't make payroll, it's quite a bad situation to find yourself in. And as Gwen mentioned, some good projects might die, some bad projects might die, but I think we're there to find the good ones and at least try to provide the support in order to increase their probability of not dying, just because it so happened that they had their treasury in custody with FTX and they lost out because of that, right? So I think in terms of the criteria, is this very same criteria that we use for our traditional investment purposes. You have to have great innovation, you have to have great team. There has to be a sustainable business model in place, and the team should be focused on the long-term delivery and kind of long-term potential of their project.
Very good tip. Very good tip. Thank you, Alex. Okay, so I gonna change the topic for a little bit about Animoca, about the GameFi, because I do a quick research on the Animoca Ventures portfolio, and I see the diversify of many areas in the market that you guys have invested in so far. So is it safe to think that the GameFi is one of the investment focus of Animoca Ventures or Animoca brands? Because like when the play to earn encounter a problem that was like too difficult, is to balance the profit of the players as well as to ensure the development of the projects. We have seen the downtrend for the blockchain game so far. So for the pioneer in the field, like Animoca brands, what are your views and advice for the GameFi project are under development?
I think the play to earn problem is really on sustainability. So in the past, we had some really good breakout hits, but then they had some sustainability problem. And I think that the root of that is really because when this first kind of play to earn concept came out, when you're proving a concept, usually you start with a game that has a very simple or easy to understand gameplay. So it is not complex because it's a start. So it's a proof of concept. It's not complex enough to accommodate for different type of players like traditional gaming. Because if you look at the traditional game industry, which has millions of DAUs and MAUs, is that they can have different types of players. They have players who grind their time to actually have that weapon or that skin and eventually be able to sell it on the secondary black market without blockchain technology. And you have the people who kind of had a long day at work and just want to get onto game, want to spend some money and want to feel good and have that social value. So we don't really see this kind of relationship being brought into the current blockchain gaming space, the current play to earn, because we haven't seen a game that's complex enough to derive an economy to account for that. But luckily, we are seeing more and more of these like really good game builders coming into the Web3 space and starting to build up games that can accommodate for a lot of these kind of different players. For example, one of our portfolio, Exterio, is one that was backed by FunPlus, which is the king in the SLG genre, which is very suitable to have a tokenized economy. So as we see the industry move forward and the game gets more and more complex, I think we have a better chance of reaching a sustainable token economy. So I'm very, very excited for the future.
Very excited. Thank you, Jenny. For the sustainable part, I absolutely agree. When I remember when I talked to Trung, the CEO of Axie Infinity, because he's Vietnamese and he based in Ho Chi Minh City. So we met and chat a lot. So he also mentioned that, like, how to say, in the bull run, there's a lot of pop-up games like Mushroom. They have a lot of games, but the sustainable and stick with the project is not for so long. Meanwhile, the Axie Infinity idea since 2018 or maybe before that. So it's like, I think it's 6 years, 6.5 years for now. So what I mean here is people, for long-term people will play the long-term game. So that's why we also looking for more long-term games with a more sustainable tokenization models as well. Mention about the portfolios and games. I also want to ask that Binance team because I see a portfolio that have a large part of Binance is devoted to DeFi and blockchain infrastructure projects, which is quite understandable. Like when Binance BNB chain is one of the largest platform in the crypto market. So, but however, it's not difficult to realize that right now the DeFi projects are also struggling to grow. So according to Alex and Wen, what do you think, what will be the new directions for the DeFi projects built on BNB chain in particular, and the market in general?
Yeah, maybe I can take that from representing 100% from just BNB chain. So now it's okay. Number one, now is winter. Now is good time to build. Number two, in DeFi, I mean, in this winter bear market, we're seeing a lot of flight to stable coins, right? I mean, people are getting out into fiat, but also a lot of people are in stable coins. So one sector which we're interested in is to see projects that will be building protocols for the stablecoin ecosystem. So that'll be interesting, right? Because there's more TVL locked in stable coins that just logically there's more stuff to do there. That's one. Second segment is that kind of looking ahead. While we've always been talking about real world assets, it's something that we want to see more of. So real world assets is also a very, very big topic where you can be talking about real estate, you can be talking about art, and many other things, right? So it's a very big topic, and there's very many subtopics there, many sub themes and categories and industries. But just as a general, we want people to really think about not just the consumer driven use cases like GameFi, right? And individual yield staking kind of thinking, but like how can you think bigger? How can you change industries? How can you revamp certain value economies basically across the different ecosystems? And the third one is synthetics derivatives. We're excited about that, right? We're seeing some play in that in the BNB chain DeFi ecosystem, but we would like to see more of that. So we are talking to some interesting protocols with different kind of pet structure, different kind of synthetics, and yeah. So a lot of them are still in the pre-launch phase, and we're excited to see how we can continue supporting them for launch.
Great, thank you, Wen. Alex, you want to add in anything in this question?
Yeah, sure. So, some of the themes that Gwen mentioned were definitely kind of on the same page. I think one thing that I would mention is that we believe in a multi-chain world. So we think there's various interesting things happening on different chains, and there's a lot of infrastructure that is yet to be built to ensure that there is a secure way that you can transact across chains and kind of move value across chains. So we're definitely looking on the infrastructure layer at that part. Generally, I think what we're keen on is to ensure that DeFi overall has generated a lot of innovation in crypto. What I think it hasn't done is actually making the UI and the UX simple enough that anyone can actually participate in DeFi, right? So if you look at someone who is not crypto native, take anyone, any person on the street and ask them to show you around how they would go about, just let's say like opening a MetaMask wallet, right? So I think you lost them already in the first 5 seconds of mentioning those words. And this is what we're trying to solve in actually backing solutions that simplify and abstract away the complexity of joining and participating in the DeFi space. In terms of actually kind of specific themes, we're always on the look for innovation. There's a need to make sure that DeFi overall is generating sustainable kind of business models and are not just a function of staking and provision of rewards that are only incentivizing very short-term kind of the yield farming culture that we've seen. So generally, we're very bullish on DeFi. I think, if anything, the latest events have shown how resilient it can be. And we just look forward to see more innovation, stronger teams, and less complexity around the space.
Maybe Jenny as well could just add on a little bit more, right? Is that just like Alex said, I think in this market, we've seen it even rephrasing in my own words, right? There's even more use case for DEXs as an example, right? So DeFi rather than CeFi. So on the BNB chain side, just to kind of share a little bit of stats, right? We again number one in terms of users across all chains. We have been number two, number three in TVL. So I think again the numbers fluctuate a little bit, but basically top few. And and the number of DeFi projects, we're always seeing interesting new stuff. So again, overall, of course, in the market, everyone is down, but we're very, very hopeful.
Thank you so much. Very hopeful for that. I think absolutely. The barrier of when they're trying to access to a DeFi product, for example, with my mom, for example, when I show her how to do with the MetaMask, store the seed phrase, etc., people feel very complicated, especially for adults. So yeah, the entry barriers for DeFi, of course. Okay, so I will have 2 more questions for you guys, and then we jump to the Q&A part for the audience. Let me check. For now, we have, oh my gosh, we have almost 5,000 of people are watching this live stream. So please, if you guys have any question for Alex, Investment Director of Binance Labs, for Gwen, Investment Director of BNB Chain, or Jenny, Vice President at Animoca Ventures, please feel free to place your question here and I will pick it up. Okay, but after 2 more of my questions. Okay, so this question is for everyone, for Alex, for Jenny, and also for Gwen. As as a VC, when you guys joining this AMA, of course, you must join a lot of calls when the project will give a speech for you guys, right, in the fundraising stage. And sometimes, like, let's say if you meet 100 projects, for example, but there are only a few projects that leave an impression of their own to you guys to remember. So for anyone who are project builder joining this AMA today, can you guys give an advice for them? Like, what would VC want to hear when they do a pitching presentation, or what is the best approach for the structuring like a 20 minutes of fundraising speech? Okay, so I'll let you guys take a little bit time to think more about that, and I will so I will say a little bit about the Web3 matching event, because this is also related to the event that we're going to host in Ho Chi Minh City, that each project will have 15 to 20 minutes to present with the VC physically, not online, but physically one-on-one in person. Okay, so let's hear Alex and Gwen and Jenny advice for you guys. Maybe start with Jenny first, or yeah.
Sure. So when we go into pitches, I think we want to look for founders who really understand the landscape and can really communicate their product or their service as well. And they know what's the key kind of pain point they're solving for, and how does their solution compare to other players in the market. Because typically one vertical, we would be looking at at least 3 or 4 compatibles, and then we would kind of benchmark them against each other. So if a founder can be very kind of directs and understands the landscape and know how his product or service is different. That's a huge plus for me. And then it's the team. For example, the founding team as well as the key teams. How does their experience in the past contribute to the project? How can they prove that they are able to execute on their vision? And I think one very important thing is to always back up kind of claims with examples. That's how we really remember, and usually it's easier for us to verify. And this probably should have come first, but really the addressable market size. So we want to invest in kind of technology, services, or products that has a big audience or can potentially onboard more audience or create a new market. So that's a really kind of exciting part for us, and how that can, monetize over time, and then eventually also build a moat is also very important for us.
Right. How about you guys, Alex and Juan?
Yeah, I can go next. So there are a few things that we're looking for, and I think I agree with Jenny. I can elaborate a bit more on a couple of things. So one, we're looking for innovation. We really like when we see something new, and especially that if it takes some time to actually understand the core innovation. This is typically for very low level kind of infrastructure projects that you need some time actually to dig through and understand the level of innovation that's out there. So this is kind of number one that we typically look for. Second is the business model. So we've seen especially over the kind of the bull cycle, a lot of projects which had some interesting traction, to say the least, but actually was not sustainable. And the reason why it was not sustainable because there was no really business model behind it. The growth was explained by the rewards that were provided for the next level of kind of user adoption, and those user adoption kind of generated the next kind of traction metrics, and were impacting the token price on the upside. So then the rewards became even more valuable up to the point where the growth plateaued, and that was it. There was nothing more left there. So and then the same user base was moving to the next project to farm those rewards, and the next one and the next one. So business model is very important. After all, no one has canceled the concept of revenue generation, even in Web3. So a business is a business ultimately, and you need to think about the long-term sustainability. You can only fund a business with external capital for some time. And as we see now in kind of downturn, it's actually the access to capital is becoming more stringent, and it's a lot harder to raise. So therefore, you need sustainability in order to back up that that valuation that you'd be seeking. Next one is traction. So I kind of mentioned this briefly, but I would say that traction is, if the project has traction, the traction is sustainable, it probably compensates for a lot of the other things. So for example, if the team, which we also look at, doesn't have any kind of prior entrepreneurial experience, but this is their first thing, and they manage to identify product market fit, and the traction proves that, then we think that they're actually great first-time entrepreneurs. So they get a lot of credit for that, right? So if you have traction, a product market fit, that beats a lot of the concerns that as an investor you might have. If you have a token, then tokenomics is very important. So everything can check out, but if the tokenomics doesn't, then it's very likely that will not be very kind of positive about the investment, because we think of tokenomics as an added value to the typical capital formation, right? So and that added value is actually pretty core, which is to not only to raise funds, but also to build a community around the project, which you cannot do with kind of traditional, debt financing or equity financing, right? So we think that tokenomics is important to provide that kind of community building aspect from the get-go. It has to make sense. The community has to feel like it's actually being incentivized to be early adopters or early participants in that project. It has to stay, the token has to have value over the long term. So therefore, vesting schedules for any kind of related parties, whether that's investors, teams, advisors, have to be long enough. And just more broad kind of common sense, the token has to have utility. If there's no utility behind the token, then probably the project does not need a token in the first place. So it's kind of a bit of a common sense, but we see a lot of cases where that's somewhat not considered. And yeah, I guess the last bit is the valuation. I think the question was, how do you impress investors? Well, for sure, one way to leave a bad impression is if you seek a disproportionately high valuation, which doesn't go in line with all of the other aspects that we just discussed. So yeah, the valuation has to match the traction, the business model, the innovation, everything around it.
Right.
So maybe I can just share more because Jenny and Alex they've talked about the content, right? So maybe I can add in a different angle where to entrepreneurs on a pitching structure. So at any point in time when you talk to a VC in front of you, assume that you have maximum 5 minutes. That's it. Realistically, we're giving you 2 minutes of patience, right? So you do need to dazzle and catch our attention in the first 2 minutes. So start off this way. Start off with a problem you're solving. Be very, very clear. And the problem should be one line. You cannot take 10 minutes to describe your problem. Storytelling is important, but we've also seen so many. We actually know most of the problems out there, most of the stories out there, right? Second, we want you to go straight to, okay, this is your problem. Second sentence, this is our solution. Third sentence, why we are unique. Either the solution is unique or the team is amazing. You've done 10 years, 20 years of XYZ, right? Then with this very, very short elevator pitch, you gauge the interest of the investor. This is when you really need to hook the investor, and then they'll be more patient, right? So why I say assume that you have maximum 5 minutes is that even though you have a half an hour call booked on the calendar, honestly, again, like within the first 5 minutes, we already can judge whether we like you or not, whether we think there's potential or not to continue the conversation, right? And sometimes you can cut it short. I've cut conversations very short when I think the project or the entrepreneur in front of me is extremely unclear. They don't know what they're doing, right? Sometimes they are unclear. They cannot answer their questions. And I try to be patient and try to give them more time. But honestly, if after 10 minutes, if the investor in front of you is still asking you questions that you cannot answer, they're asking you questions in 3 different ways, and they're only asking you in 3 different ways because you are not giving them the correct, the answers that they're looking for. Right, you're not answering them well. You can say you don't know. You can say you don't know yet. You can say you're still trying to figure it out. Do not ever dodge the question and try to avoid it because they want to know the answers. We want to know the answers. We will ask you, right? It's okay to have no traction. Okay to be pre-revenue and pre-launch. Just say it, right? We want to know that. So don't. I mean, the investors in front of you are very smart, right? They're not dumb. So if you avoid it, we know that there's something there where you are, for some reason, not sharing. So from a structure perspective, that's very, very important because been many pitches where it's extremely frustrating, I think, on both sides, right? Where I'm spending maybe even like half an hour really trying to understand, like literally even what a product or solution is, a problem or solution is, which is very terrible. So I think next is that if you are on a call, a practical call rather than a conference kind of, you're a conference pitching. If you're on a call, prepare your demos, right? Have a live demo tab prepped already, like loaded already. But assume that internet or it might be slow and stuff like that. Have a video demo also ready to go locally on your laptop, not streaming from YouTube. So all these stuff sounds very simple maybe, but you can, all these little things makes your pitch go smoother. Because it saves a lot of time and you're efficient. You show that you know what you're doing.
Very good tip, guys. So I have noted it down for a little bit about what Jenny says about the founder understanding about the landscape, and also Jenny, she also care about the founding team of the projects. With Alex, he very care about the core innovation of the project, the business model, about the traction, the tokenomics, the utility of the tokens, and especially the valuation have to reasonable, not to extremely crazily high. For Gwen had advised the project when you guys do a pitching presentations, just assume that you guys will have only 5 minutes. And first line, you will say about the problem, the storytelling, and the second line, please mention directly to the solution and why you are unique. For the questions that you guys, don't know, yes, you can say you don't know. Don't try to avoid the question. And please, lastly, prepare a demo, maybe a live demo or a video demo. Do not use a streaming on YouTube. So that's my key takeaways for the very valuable sharing of the speakers here. I guess we have only a few minutes left, so I will just pick a very quick question from the audience. By the way, we have 5.5K people are watching this live stream, so that's very amazing. Very first question for Alex. So, where can I get the Binance sweater?
So first thing, these are not for sale. You have to attend Binance community events. You have to come up, to our conferences. This is the point where we give this out. So please check on all the events that are coming up, and at some point there will be Binance merch, whether that's a hoodie, a cap, or something else.
Basically, Alex, Jenny has the cap. Basically, Alex, this is like a physical geo-located, geo-fenced physical airdrop.
Right, exactly. That's exactly a right way to describe it.
Thank you, Alex. I really love Binance merch. It's so high quality and so unique. I wear this every day to go to the office, and yeah, just want to say, not for sale. So thank you, Alex. The second question I collected from the community is for BNB chain. Of course, everyone can say that and admit that the truth is BNB chain is top #1 in the market right now. But for the emergence of the new blockchain, a new blockchain projects like Aptos and Sway. So what is you guys have a view on, the new blockchain emergence like Aptos and Sway?
I can contribute, and then I'm sure Binance Labs that have literally invested can also contribute some comments. So I think we here at BNB Chain, we feel privileged and lucky that we're #1, right? But also we're always looking bigger. We want the pie to grow. So the more people, the more chains, the better, because the more people have choice. But also second is that in this multi-chain world, and we're already in a multi-chain world, we think this multi-chain world will continue. And we do think that different chains will slowly become more focused, right? So right now, for example, there are many chains, us included, we are for mass crypto adoption, even though 40% of our users are gaming already. I do think that more chains focus on certain use cases will emerge stronger in those segments. So yeah, so we're very supportive of all those. And even like Aptos, before they launched, we even, when we rebranded, we invited Mo to speak at our panel discussion on Twitter Spaces, right, live, with CZ as well from Binance, right? So it's been a journey where we fully embrace this multi-chain world.
Thanks, Gwen. So yeah, I can maybe contribute to this discussion from Binance Labs side. We've invested in both of them, and I think going back to the innovation point, I think there was enough kind of innovation for us to pay attention. And we think that it's always great to back great founders. And I think both of those teams have very great founders. And when we talked to them, we were impressed by kind of their thoughtfulness, but also their experience. They have years, if not decades, of experience behind them in building highly scalable products in more kind of traditional technology. So we thought some of that experience would be quite relevant to bring into Web3. So for that reason, we thought we would like to make a very informed bet on the technology that both Aptos and Sui are bringing, and we'd like to support them as early as possible. So therefore we went ahead and invested in both.
Right. Yeah, please, Jenny.
just to add a little bit on Animalca side, so we also love innovation, and Animalca, we are quite chain agnostic. We like to work with multiple chains, and for our portfolios, we want them to have more options. And I think, the emergence of new chains really helps to grow the pie, because eventually I think different chains will kind of have different focus and is suitable for different types of projects.
Thank you, Jenny. From my side at Kairos Ventures and Koi6J, we are also looking for not only about the investment, but also to make friends and to make the connection. In a few days, we have welcomed the Future Wallet team. There's a wallet project, but based on Aptos, to come to our office and chit chat a lot about the new ecosystem, about a lot of things around Sway and Aptos as well. So definitely 100% will support and contribute to the whole crypto ecosystem. Right. I think we're run out of time. So I saw a lot of comments and compliments on Jenny and Gwen, both beautiful girls here. People say that they like the CGI background with the piano in the background of Gwen. And people say that Jenny, it looks so attractive. Okay. So I will assume that both Jenny.
And
Okay.
we're also, intelligent people, hopefully, will like to think that. And I can't take credit for this. This is just all Google Beats. Oh wait, StreamYard.
Looks nice.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, very thank you guys. I'm so happy to host the AMA today. I don't think it's like a panel discussion or something. It's just a very friendly vibe chit chat with you guys, with Alex, Gwen, and Jenny. So thank you guys so much, the speakers, and also thank you. I think like 5.8 thousand people are watching. Like I cannot imagine the live stream will reach almost 6K people. So thank you so much for Binance Live community and everyone. I guess we're closing the live stream for now. And okay, so thank you so much again. And I gotta go for the World Cup for the World Cup match.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
everyone for
having
joining.
us. Thank you. See you.